Welcome back to Morning Joe. The Democrats, of course, are pushing forward on their impeachment inquiry into President Trump, now subpoenaing Trump's personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani. In a joint letter from House Intel Chairman Adam Schiff, Oversight Chair Elijah Cummings, and Foreign Affairs Chairman Eliot Engel, the lawmakers are seeking documents related to Giuliani and the president's efforts to get Ukraine's government to investigate the Biden family. In the letter, the committee chairs write that they're demanding the former mayor produce all text messages, phone records, and other communications related to the matter by October 15th, 2 weeks. The document does not ask Giuliani to testify, something he previously said he would consider doing. The president's personal attorney acknowledged the subpoena on Twitter, writing in part, it had been signed only by Democrat chairs who have prejudged this case. Giuliani adding, it raises significant issues concerning legitimacy and constitutional and legal issues, including inter alia attorney-client and other privileges. It will be given appropriate consideration. In a statement to NBC News, Giuliani expanded on his tweet, saying in part, I think it's extraordinary. People are asking me, will I comply? No one seems concerned. This is a subpoena on an attorney. Giuliani says he has not made a decision about whether he will cooperate. Appearing on Fox News last night, the former New York City mayor was pressed on whether he would testify to Congress.
And would you testify? Because I think Jay Sekulow is absolutely right. You don't have to do anything.
Oh, I don't know. I'm weighing the alternatives. I'll kind of like go through it. I'll get all my evidence together. I'll get my charts. I don't know if they let me use videotapes and tape recordings that I have. If they let me get some of the evidence that I gathered. And I have to tell you, Sean, all this nonsense about I was interfering in the election, I gathered all this evidence before the Mueller probe ended. So it was clearly under my responsibility as the lawyer for the President of the United States.
Well, joining us now, State Attorney for Palm Beach, Dave Aronberg. Dave, good luck with that one. I'll put it on a platter for you. But let's start with this subpoena. Do you see a point where Rudy Giuliani actually has to sit before a panel in Congress and testify himself beyond just producing these documents, some of which, by the way, he's posted on Twitter already, text messages showing that the State Department directed him to act on Ukraine. But will he sit before Congress?
He may have to. I mean, he doesn't have a legitimate privilege that would prevent it. I mean, attorney-client privilege would not apply here because he has said repeatedly that he was not working on behalf of a client. He was going solo. And so the privilege wouldn't apply. Plus, the attorney-client privilege doesn't apply to communications with third parties, such as Ukrainians. And even if it did apply, the fact is he probably waived it by giving away his text messages on Fox News. Besides all that, it's a really bad look for Giuliani to hold these secrets inside instead of disclosing it to the world, because he has been out there blasting the whistleblower for allegedly having secondhand information and information that isn't accurate. Well, Giuliani clearly has firsthand information. Let's get it out there. If he doesn't, there's a bit of hypocrisy there. It's a bad look.
So, Dave, how would a judge sort through Rudy Giuliani's multiple stands that he's taken? You of course, it's like Donald Trump about the Iraq War. Donald Trump can find a quote that he wants that says he supported the Iraq War or he opposed the Iraq War. And Rudy Giuliani's been acting the same way about what capacity he was going to Ukraine and these other countries in. Sometimes he says, I'm just the president's attorney. Sometimes he said, I wasn't the president's attorney. Sometimes he says, I was working for the State Department. So there you are. You're a judge. And every judge you've ever dealt with, if he claims attorney-client privilege, but he's already said publicly, I wasn't there for the president, I was there for the State Department. Or I wasn't there for the president, I was there by myself. And then, of course, Carol Merrill says, if you look behind the third door, it's Rudy Giuliani saying, I was there as a president's lawyer. How does a judge sort through that? And does the judge just wipe all that to the side and say, hey, listen, no attorney-client here. You said yourself publicly 2 times that you weren't there acting as an attorney.
Right. And remember, attorney-client privilege, by the way, Joe, you're accurate. You're right. An attorney-client privilege only applies to communications with his client, and he has said he has no client here. And the communications in question, the stuff that's been divulged to Fox News and the world, involves communications with Mike Pompeo, who's not his client, or to the Ukrainians, not his client. So attorney-client privilege wouldn't apply. Plus, Rudy Giuliani has some serious legal issues. Depending on what comes out, he could be part of a conspiracy to violate federal extortion or bribery laws, possibly even the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. And so he's got to be really careful here. And ultimately, I don't think it's going to end well for him.
Dave, Donnie Deutsch, let's assume that Rudy Giuliani is going to say, I'm not showing up. There'll be an empty chair there. What's the legal machinations that go forward?
Contempt of court.
Which
we'll see how tough
what?
the Democrats.
Which means, okay,
excuse me,
we've been to this party before.
Excuse me.
Contempt of court, what happens then?
Well, contempt of court or contempt of Congress. What will happen is that Congress will issue an order, and then he will be in contempt if he violates it. I don't think it's going to get that far. I don't think you're going to see Rudy Giuliani dragged out in handcuffs. He's going to eventually comply, and he will, of course, invoke attorney-client privilege and executive privilege. Even Corey Lewandowski invoked executive privilege, even though he didn't work a day for the administration. So expect all these things as a delay tactic. Ultimately, I think he will be forced to turn over the documents to testify. I don't see that he'll go to jail for that. Now, by the way, it was said, and this is not original, that the Rudy Giuliani of 30 years ago, the federal prosecutor, would have prosecuted the Rudy Giuliani of today. I think it's sad what has happened here.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so true.
Well, I'm glad you said that. Dave Ehrenberg, thank you for being with us. And, Willie and Donnie, you're two guys like me who have known Rudy Giuliani for quite some time. Have dealt with him up close on many issues. I feel sorry for the guy when I see him in the state he was in last night. When I've seen him shuffling around, confused. I am just shocked, and I know Republicans that I've spoken with on the Hill are shocked that Donald Trump is letting this guy go out as his free agent, rambling around with apparently no game plan and no focus.
Yeah, I wonder who's directing this operation. You see last night, you're looking on Twitter, Rudy's going to be on Fox tonight at 9 o'clock, and you go, who said, let's get Rudy on TV again? Is it to throw smoke screens up? Because every time he goes on TV, there's another lie or another problem for Trump.
The Republicans have what I call a cap strategy, which is basically first you confuse. You get on, that's where Rudy Giuliani comes in. You say 84 different things. This is part of the authoritarian playbook. And then Trump admits it, that's the A part. And then P, you point at the other guy. And so this is part of that C strategy. And everything that's going on, the more legitimate facts come out, you put this buffoon out who just...
Yeah, but Donnie, you just... Hold on. You just called him a buffoon, but this is the same guy who turned New York City around with the help of the police chief and a lot of other people. One of the great...
America's mayor.
I still think it remains one of the great governmental accomplishments of the last 50 years. Mm-hmm. This is a guy who, after 9/11, while George W. Bush was trying to find his footing for that week before he went up to New York and stood on the pile and said, "We hear you," right? It was Rudy Giuliani that really was America's mayor.
Joe, I want to
see. Hold on, Donnie.
Sorry.
To see that guy and see him now, and I'm not even talking about his defense of Donald Trump, but his decreased capacities. It is sad and it is pathetic. And of course, yes, it ruins his legacy. But more than that, I'm wondering who's around Rudy Giuliani allowing him to continue to go out at night and embarrass himself on TV.
He's completely sold his soul to be near the sun. And I'm just going to push back a little bit. And this got Andrew Cuomo in trouble in an election. He did his job on 9/11. And I felt a decade after he exploited it. And a lot of other people in New York feel that way. And once again, he did his job. What, he's supposed to go home and cry and hide? He did his job. And I thought he exploited it for years afterwards.
He did his job. He did his job a hell of a lot better than a lot of other people could. You could have said you could have said Winston Churchill did his job in the summer of 1940. Yeah, he did his job, but he did a damn good job at it. I hate to see his legacy defiled by performances like last night, Mika, every single day.
I know, we have to go, but I think your question, Donnie, is the best, Joe's question. I mean, is there someone around him taking care of him? Like, we all know the rumors. Is there anyone, Okay, I
Because
don't
we
want to
know
hear
the rumor.
rumors,
Look,
but
we're not going to
this
say it, but
looks.
we know the rumors about Rudy.
But Donnie, we're just talking about
I'm
who are
just-
the family members
who's
that can
allowing-
take care of this guy.
Someone needs to take care of him.
He doesn't
This
have
is
a-
really,
he's-
it's abusive.
He's obviously
All right,
divorced.
Donnie, thank you. Can you cut Donnie's mic? For God's sake.
Coming up.
Come on.
Cut the mic.
We're talking about
Former
the pot
Senator-
calling the kettle black, dude.
Cut the
Come on,
mic.
man.
Cut the mic. Cut
Former
the mic.
Senator Jeff
hold
Flake.
On, hold on. Let's listen to that.
I'm serious.
That's
it's
beautiful.
sad.
All right,
Former
coming up, who do
Senator
we have?
Jeff Flake has a new message to his fellow Republicans. He says there is still time to save your souls. We'll read from his new op-ed ahead on Morning Joe.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.